It's the main show. We back. It's the main show, and we back. It's the main show, and we back. And who'da thunk that we'd be back on live. Welcome back. Oh wait, you know what I forgot? It's hilarious. I forgot one of the main components of doing a show, and that's getting the mic. Welcome back to Popcorn Poppin' Live, your ultimate movie, TV, and streaming guide. There's too much content in the world, and you can't be wasting your time. So let me waste my time for you by watching all that looks vaguely interesting and letting you know what's poppin' and what ain't. Tonight, we'll be talking about shows like Euphoria, The Boys, and we'll be ranking the best final seasons of television. Are you excited? I know I am. Before we get started, just a little note. There will be slight spoilers of the new episodes of each season, that being Euphoria and of The Boys. I almost said Better Call Saul, but we'll get to that way later. The reason being is because I can't really review something unless I mention certain things. When it comes to Euphoria, I'll be talking a little bit more about where characters are during this 5-month jump that we're gonna 5-year jump that's going to happen. But when it comes to The Boys, I'll be a little more vague because there's bigger events that happen within those first 2 episodes. Also to note, Euphoria, I'm aware it isn't fully conceived as a final season. It's just season 3, but it seems to be their final season. At least that's what I think. Just one moment. I gotta close this vent. All right. Now we may begin. First of all, did you watch the show? Did you watch the show? Because you should have watched the show. Because it's time for us to talk about said show. I'm also letting Facebook know that we're on right now, though. All right, for real, though. Let's do this. Okay. No. You can't see how the popcorn is made. This is what happens when you don't do live for a little bit. Okay, ready? There. We're good. So, moving to Euphoria. That's right, Euphoria is back. Oh, wait, that's the different Zendaya film, which is actually out in theaters right now. We're talking about the TV show. I just find it funny that Zendaya has come out with a movie 2 weeks before the huge premiere of her biggest show. Also, she's got 3 other movies coming out later, but we're not talking about Zendaya. We're talking about Rue and the other group of childhood friends who wrestle with the virtue of faith, the possibility of redemption, and the problem of evil. So, poppin' or not, Bucky is here with the report. Bucky, can you let us know what we should think of the new season of Euphoria? Subpar poppin', man, you say. Okay, let's see. What do I mean by that? Let me explain. Stop interrupting me. The following are just slight spoilers for the premiere for the new season. If you don't want to know what's going on with the characters right now, please check out one of my other reviews on Popcorn Poppin' Productions on the YouTube page. Ready, set, go. So this new season, we fast forward 5 years, and characters are in quite different predicaments since we last saw them. Rue is now for real, I'm going to say what's going on, so be forewarned. Ready? Cool. Rue is now a drug mule, paying back a debt she never owned up to in season 2, transferring bags of fentanyl via swallowing with KY jelly between Mexico and California through Texas. Along the way of the stop we're introduced to, Rue comes across the hospitality of a religious, large, and happy family, leading Rue to the idea of finding God, religion, and hope for a future with peace of mind. She seems sober for most of the episode, unless I missed something. And towards the end, we see her drinking whiskey and smoking a joint as if nothing's going on. It was a bit strange because it wasn't built up or suspensified for audiences because of how important her sobriety is for fans of the show to know, but it was really strange that they didn't focus on it. My guess is that it's on purpose, but we'll see. Maybe we're led to more of her narration of like, well, the first time that I really kind of sort of relapsed was a few years ago, but I'm only doing just this much. But it doesn't show her going wild and crazy throughout most of the episode. Instead, it's just this one scene where she's kind of getting a little tipsy and a little high. Maybe this is the first time that she actually did really relapse since we last saw her 5 years ago. But I'm okay with her being a drug mule, to be honest. It seems like a big step, But the weird crime storyline that Sam Levinson, the showrunner, has leaned into more and more as the show progresses is one of my least favorite parts of the story in general from season 1 to season 3. I'm more interested in these characters than I'm biting my nails at scary drug dealers. At least my opinion when it comes to the bad guys in the show, I don't find them scary or special compared to other works. So I find these scenes really underwhelming. Meanwhile, Cassie, played by Sydney Sweeney, is living with Nate, played by Jacob Elordi, in a mansion and is trying to do what she can to make enough money to buy certain things for their upcoming wedding. Nate has a business of his own. He basically took over his dad's business and doesn't really know what he's doing, but seems to have an investor that's not sweating what he can do. And yet he claims to Cassie that he can't afford 50,000 followers. She doesn't want to have a wedding without having everything she ever wanted. So she's willing to pay. But her only solution that she's invested in is OnlyFans. Honestly, I find the storyline a little interesting. If you've watched me review this show before, or even ever mentioned Sydney Sweeney, I praise her acting in films specifically with horror. But despite Cassie going through what she's going through in season 1, very well done. But what she's going through in season 2 is just so fucking annoying. I can't stand her. And I got tired of them wasting story on her in season 2. However, I do find it interesting for this season to explore what a woman may view OnlyFans as and how they want to choose to do what to do with their body and make that bread. People were apparently quite outraged of her sexy puppy scene, but I just think it was meant to be silly. Don't get me wrong, she's fine as hell crawling around, but to me, I don't find dogs particularly sexy enough for me to want to fuck them. The scene is quite comical, which is on purpose. They're not just giving you eye candy, they're giving you a version of what pervs want and how silly it can be to gain followers on social media for money, and yet it could still actually happen for realsies. So far, I don't find Cassie as annoying as last season. Or annoying, period. Like, the way that she talks about OnlyFans confidently is actually a little insightful, might be an exaggeration, but she's like, no, I've done my research. This isn't just porn. I don't have to be nude. I can post what I post on Instagram on OnlyFans, or I can make personalized messages or videos to make people that feel lonely feel a little better. And I know this sounds weird for me to be like, oh, no, it's interesting. It's cool. I have not paid for OnlyFans, I don't think. So don't think like, oh, you're just saying that because you do. Maybe I did, but I didn't. I don't think. In any case, it's an interesting storyline. When I first heard that they were doing this with this character, I'm like, yeah, of course they are. But it kind of works. Other characters are making a slow return, like Maddie as an actor manager in Hollywood or assistant to the regional manager, and Lexi being a PA/writer under Sharon Stone's character that I find interesting. But all in all, it is hard to judge how this season will be because it's a slow start just to see what their lives are like now. Now, we saw Coleman Domingo's character for a second, and they talk about Hunter Schafer's character a little bit, but we actually only see Coleman Domingo for a second, and we don't see Hunter Schafer. At least I don't believe so. But the show's strongest aspect was cinematography, and they seem to have cut back hard on it, which may bother me personally, but let's give it a couple episodes before judging too harshly. Overall, I don't necessarily say go watch it to those who are on the fence of the new season, but I'll keep you posted in the coming weeks of how the show goes. For now, just a medium popcorn because I don't even know if I can give it a specific rating because it's just one episode from a 5-year jump. Let's let it marinate a little bit before we go crazy. Moving on to The Boys. The world is dominated by Homelander, and Annie January has formed a resistance to Homelander while the rest of the team is scattered. Billy the Butcher reappears and gathers the boys to take down Homelander, ready to use a virus capable of wiping out all the soups of the world. So, pop it or not for The Boys. This is indeed the final season, and we did have 2 episodes come out. So, Bucky, what do we think about this? Super duper poppin'. That is really exciting. The show really packs quite a few punches for the opening 2 episodes. I won't spoil certain scenes, but will say that a major death happens in episode 1 that I found solid. It was a character that I originally had mixed feelings about, but they slowly brought them into my good graces and had a good send-off for me anyway. Some people were mad, but I found it proper. And there is a major shift in trusting when it comes to Billy and the rest of the boys. This is like the only thing I found, maybe not negative, but I was like, I'm not sure. After killing Victoria Newman last season, I figured it would be difficult for Billy to get in the good graces of everyone else, but they just do it so quickly. And whatever, speed it up. We can have a wild season quicker than not. That'd be nice. Homelander be homelandering as the Romans do, and as a psycho does as well. But I do love who the new vice president is, and I won't tell you who it is, but it is quite hilarious. And the power that the person has is interesting as well, especially the reveal that's sort of like Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone. If you know, you know. But I'd rather not give anything else away except to say, welcome back, the boys. We hope your final season doesn't end in apocalypse because you reflect the real world so closely that it just might happen for realsies. New season, large poppin' for show. Maybe it's because we had a second episode and not just a first that I can say that confidently. But I can confidently say that I like how fast we're going. Keep it up. Now, before we move on to the final seasons, let's go ahead and take a break, and we will be right back with more Popcorn Poppin'.
What sounds or noises actually make you feel horny?
Sounds. Well, the nasty noises that make women bite their lips are as follows. The sexy sounds of me unzipping my pants.
Ooh, ah.
The sexy sounds of me ripping the buttons off of my shirt.
Ooh, ah.
The sexy sounds of me tearing your underwear from your now naked body.
That's gonna be expensive. I just bought that.
The sound of me paying for the torn underwear that I did not mean to tear.
You're gonna need more cash. These panties are from Fenty.
Seriously? The sound of jingling change. The IOU that I fell out to you to pay for the rest of those extremely expensive panties.
Keep the change. Just Venmo me.
All right, that sounds like a plan.
What sounds or noises actually make you feel horny?
Sounds. Well, the nasty noises that make women.
You're gonna need more cash. These panties are from Fenty.
Seriously? The sound of jingling change. The IOU that I fell out to you to pay for the rest of those extremely expensive panties.
Keep the change. Just Venmo me.
All right, that sounds like a plan.
There we go. All right. Okay. Welcome back to Popcorn Poppin'. It wouldn't be a good episode if I didn't make a mistake. So I got to do this. Oh, never mind. We're good. Okay, now we're good. All right. Welcome back to Popcorn Poppin'. Sorry about that, guys. I'm going to have to do some editing after this for the final copy. So we talked about Euphoria, which we can only guess is the final season. We talked about The Boys, which is confirmed to be the final season. But will they hold up to be actual best final seasons in television history? It's a good question. What are they up against, though? That's another question. I have compiled a list of some of the best final seasons in television history. Now, I would say that this is ranked. In fact, I will say for the most part it's ranked, but I have a feeling I'm going to get a lot of pushback for a lot of the ones that I would say are actually, I think you're going to be like, no, this season's better than that season that you said before. So I don't fully stand behind it because only minutes before going live, I had to rearrange a couple things. So for now, this is the top 12 best final seasons of television. What are the best final seasons of television, you may ask? Well, I'll tell you. Starting with Mr. Robot with Rami Malek. Young antisocial computer programmer Elliot works as a cybersecurity engineer during the day, but at night, he is a vigilante hacker. He is recruited by the mysterious leader of an underground group of hackers to join their organization. One of the wildest trips of the entire list. Rami Malek's acting, mixed with the crazy plot twists and turns of this reality-bending series, is almost sci-fi. The final episode features a twist that I found a bit ridiculous, but accepted. However, the culmination of the series over the course of the entire season was satisfying enough. You can check out this entire series on Tubi right now. Number 11 that I have written down is Snowfall. A look at the early days of the crack cocaine epidemic in Los Angeles during the beginning of the 1980s. Franklin Saint was one of the best gangsters from television, and the final season is a true cautionary tale. I mean, the whole series is a cautionary tale if you think about it, but this final season was heartbreaking. The journey of these characters catapulted significant changes from season to season, starting from the streets and working their way up as kingpins. Excellent series in general. Even the opening title sequences had a journey of their own as each respective season progressed. You can check out Snowfall right now on Hulu. Now, we all know about this show called The Wire, which is about the Baltimore drug scene as seen through the eyes of drug dealers and law enforcement. What can I say that you don't already know, even without watching? Well, The Wire is known as one of the, and in many or most cases, the best show ever made. If you have watched it, you know that each season sort of shifts focus on different characters without losing the main ones. There was Amsterdam, the Docks, and this one where I remembered McNulty creating a fake series of a certain crime that I don't want to give away in case you haven't seen the show. But trust me, guys, that final season was crazy. Plus, Omar's conclusion, amongst others, made the final season a great little bow on everything. If you haven't watched the show yet, yeah, you need to on HBO Max. And again, I'm aware most people think that this is one of the best shows ever made. You're going to see me say that the final seasons are better than the final season of this. One reason that this is a little lower on the list for me is because I don't remember it verbatim. I need to rewatch it, but I remember being like, this is fantastic. Just because a different show like, let's say, Justified is higher on that ranking than The Wire, that just means, from my memory, the final season of Justified was better than the final season of The Wire. Of course, that probably isn't the case if I actually remember it. But while we're on Justified, enforcing his own brand of justice, U.S. Marshal Raylan Givens, a strong-willed, quiet lawman, haunted by his past, returns to his native town to see that justice is served to those in need. Justified's dialogue was not only some of the strongest you'd ever see on television, or hear, but like others in this list, character development truly made me fall in love with characters and their complicated relationships with one another. In my opinion, the revival series Primeval City, taking place in Detroit, a continuation that I was truly excited for, was a bit disappointing, in my opinion. But never y'all fret. Some spin-offs / continuations can't fuck up the OG. Justified on Hulu right now. Succession, The Roy family is known for controlling the biggest media and entertainment company in the world. However, their world changes when their father steps down from the company, or is about to step down from the company. Although I preferred the first couple seasons over the last two, the show led characters down an unexpected path of almost resolution, and growing up and becoming more than just rich assholes, only to be followed by inevitable foolish selfishness. If you know, you know. I loved rooting and denouncing characters on and off, but by the end, I just felt bad for them, even though they all got what they deserved. You can check out what I'm talking about, Succession, on HBO Max. Speaking of HBO Max, you can also check out a little show called 6 Feet Under. Yeah, bet you didn't see that one coming because it's been a while since anyone's talked about it. Laced with irony and dark situational humor, the show approaches the subject of death through the eyes of a Fisher family, the Fisher family, who owns and operates a funeral home in Los Angeles. Not enough younger people have watched the show, but later in life, I finally did and was floored. Most people talk about how it's probably the best finale in TV, but the fact that it shockingly kills off one of their main characters early on in the final season and have characters deal with it was not only risky, but gold, even though this doesn't mean gold. This one was created by Alan Ball, who won an Oscar for writing American Beauty before creating this and True Blood after this show. You can check this one out on HBO Max as well. Also on HBO Max be HBO Max, and Nathan For You. Yes, this one is sort of a docu-comedy series where Nathan Fielder uses his business degree and life experiences to, in unorthodox ways, help real small businesses turn a profit. Not only does Fielder and his team have surprisingly genius, inventive ideas that prove quite successful multiple times throughout the series, but the character that Fielder is on screen is on a sort of real/fictional journey of servicing his loneliness with love from strangers through friendship and companionship wherever possible. However, he's very disconnected from others, causing a hilarious yet tragic circumstance with others. Final season follows the through line perfectly and actually is continued through HBO's The Rehearsal, which I've reviewed before, but don't actually love the first season. Still, overall, with it is worth it. With The Curse being completely separate and crazy, but the best of all is Nathan For You. HBO Max, Paramount Plus, and Pluto for free. Game of Thrones, hear me out. Hear me out. Need I say more? Yeah, of course I do, because everyone hated the final season. Originally, I was indifferent, joining others in disappointment with fan theories and personal wishes of where the show should go, how it should end, and who should sit on the Iron Throne in the end of the series. Yet, after my girlfriend watched the entire show for the first time and viewing the characters' adventures through her eyes, I realized that the final season was actually pretty fucking good. Sure, there were at least some unanswered questions. There were a lot of unanswered questions, and I still didn't like who got the throne in the end, but it was definitely a better season than others let on. The showrunner's next venture, The Three Body Problem, is definitely interesting to say the least. At least I didn't think like the show was that great, but I got very invested as the first season wrapped up. I thought it would share a sad cancellation fate like others later in this list, but Netflix confirmed that the show will have 2 more seasons to completely wrap up the story. Will it be better than Game of Thrones? Probably not. But again, rewatch Game of Thrones and tell me if you still stick by the final season being as bad as others had said. Next on the list with number 4, Breaking Bad, which I may consider the best show ever made. A chemistry teacher diagnosed with inoperable lung cancer turns to manufacturing and selling methamphetamine with the former student to secure his family's future. I almost said fortune. I guess it's the same thing. I need a drink. It's so hot in here. I had to turn off the fan, so bear with me. Glug, glug, glug. Early on, showrunner Vince Gilligan said he wanted Mr. Rogers to turn into Scarface or something like that, and he proved it well enough to say the least. Not only was it probably the best show ever made, but the entire series featured the best hours of cinema you'll ever see in or out of a theater. Some of the most craziest moments in the final season, let alone throughout the whole show, like Ozymandias alone, is the reason that this is one of the best final seasons ever. People believe it was the best ending, but I thought it was just safe.
And I personally felt at least some unfulfillment. Regardless, the season adapted characters to viable conclusions and brought a great film sequel and spinoff to us. I just hope Gilligan's Pluribus gets a little better and a little less slow pace for season 2. I get it. He likes the slow burn, as you can definitely see in Breaking Bad, but at least Breaking Bad had more action and not just a crazy overall storyline with some interesting last on man on earth situations. Until then, check out the entire series on Netflix. Speaking of Breaking Bad, Better Call Saul. That's right. I put this above Breaking Bad for final seasons. A lot of people consider this show maybe even better than Breaking Bad. But if you don't know it, Albuquerque lawyer Jimmy McGill scrapes for clients and respect, but every win drags him closer to shady deals, dangerous players, and the alter ego formerly known as Saul Goodman. The whole show was great, but this final season was what I wanted much earlier on. Saul Goodman isn't truly born until the final season, and the series really takes off strong once it happens. I loved how the show is a prequel, sequel, and sort of present with Breaking Bad events. This one was probably the most satisfying final seasons ever without being too nitpicky on what to do when it comes to being a spinoff. The creators were Vince Gilligan and Peter Gould. You can check out Pluribus right now on Apple TV+. You can check out Breaking Bad on Netflix, like I said, and you can check out Better Call Saul on Netflix as well. The reason that this is better than Breaking Bad, final season-wise, is if you watched Breaking Bad, you know exactly where Saul should go, like literally where he should go. But when it comes to those black and white scenes that take place in the future, you're like, well, where does he end up being? And that is pretty dope. Great final scene, by the way. Excellent final scene. Very happy that Bob Odenkirk really showed his acting prowess in this shit. Number 2, The Americans. I brought up this show plenty of times. Taking place at the height of the Cold War, married KGB spies pose as Americans in Washington, D.C. This was a series that built up the inevitable suspense of almost or successfully getting caught by Americans, like actual Americans. It's riveting, and it has great writing. Acting is superb from Kerry Russell and Matthew Rice, who met and married during the production of this series in real life. This one had a wild ending, but the breadcrumbs that led us here was quite a roller coaster throughout the entire series, but mostly for the final season. Extremely underrated, and yes, one of the best shows to have come out. Just a bit slow for some arcs, with, I believe, season 3 being really, really bad. In my opinion, maybe not bad, but just like, I don't care about the show anymore. I'm about to quit. I'll give it one more chance for the new season. And the season that followed ended up being like the best. I can't remember why, but maybe a fellow popper out there has watched the series and can refreshify my memory. Until then, check out The Americans on Hulu. So what is the number 1 best final season on television? While I tell you, be kind and comment any questions or any other suggestions that you would like me to answer at the end of this episode. The answer is Dark. When 2 children go missing in a small German town, its sinful past is exposed, along with the double lives and fractured relationships that exist among 4 families as they search for the kids. Now, one thing I'll say about the show to make it more interesting is that it has a sort of twist that will reel you in right away. And to me, it was very apparent what the main story was going to be about. And that is, if you don't want to be spoiled, mute me for 30 seconds. It's just like what the show is about. It's an element to it. All right? I'm going to put my hands up like this. That means, hey, I'm going to give you a small spoiler what the show is about, but I don't think you'll try the show until I tell you what it's about. All right? The whole time I do this, that means I'm telling you what it's about. When I put them down, that means you can listen. So go ahead and mute. 3, 2, 1. The twist is the show is about time travel. I won't tell you any other reveals, but will say that for me, it was very apparent that what was going on within the first couple episodes. So it may not shock you when you first watch it, but there will be certain turns that will certainly surprise you. Their final third season was probably the best tie-up of a time travel story that I had ever seen. Since the show is German, I'd recommend changing it to English dub only because of the complexity of the story may prove difficult to hold your attention. I did enjoy the first season and a half with subtitles, but I still had to switch it over for the rest of the series. The point is, I highly recommend this show to everyone the most because I was fully satisfied with all the plots being tied up in a neat 3-season package whilst closing on serviceable 3-season run. And I would like to mention that after this show ended, the showrunners, along with several same cast members, had another genre-bending show called 1899 that I was dying to watch. It was set on a cruise ship of the same year and would have had, spoiler alert, here we go, ended revealing that their reality is some sort of simulation that those characters were actually dreaming on another ship. Only it wasn't a cruise ship, but, spoiler alert, a spaceship in 2099. The only reason that I'm telling you this, I don't usually do spoilers, is because the show got canceled. But I still recommend watching it because that revelation of a season finale would have set up a season 2 having taken place in 2099 instead of 1899. The creators had a 3-season idea that was great but had low viewership, and higher production costs ultimately got the show canceled. Admittedly, it wasn't the best series, but damn, I was super intrigued about where it would go. Now, we talked about the rankings, but you may think, Tony, I want to talk about other shows that you didn't mention. Why didn't you mention them? Well, I decided that I would quickly go through honorable mentions and give you the reason why I don't choose it as my favorite final season. The Sopranos on HBO Max. The only reason is I don't fully remember the final season except someone getting shot in the first episode, I think, and a long dream sequence and how the show ends. But I remember the season being pretty, not boring, but just like, not like, oh, this is amazing. So that's why I didn't add it to the list. Next up is Seinfeld. Again, I only remember the final episode. I don't remember the whole final season. But I remember that there's a lot of criticism of that final episode and how it was kind of like a clip show, but I thought it was kind of cool. And also, I loved where the cast ended up in the final scene. I don't think anyone would argue with me about not adding Lost to this, but I did want to mention that I did like the sideways flashbacks. I thought that was intriguing, and they had to change something up because that show was lost, like the writers. But I didn't love the final episode. I just thought it was like good enough for all this mystery you guys are doing. Angel. I loved the show, and I remember loving the final season even way more than Buffy. And Buffy, I did not that Buffy. That Buffy. I liked Angel's final season more than Buffy, but in general, I liked Angel more. I just remember being disappointed with how Buffy ended and a lot happier with Angel as a whole, specifically the final season. But again, not enough memory to say this is one of the best shows ever. Now, a show that we're watching right now, because Roxy hasn't watched it before, we're in season 5 right now of Mad Men. Not at the final season yet. And again, I don't remember the final season, but I'll tell you, I fucking love this show. Excellent show. But I don't remember how it ended. House, one of the best shows ever made, but their final season was probably the worst season that they had. I just figured it was honorably mentioned because that show deserves a watch from everyone, but it's also a cautionary tale of how not to end a awesome series. Mr. In Between, one of the best shows ever made. Everyone needs to watch it. It's an easy watch too, a half-hour comedy drama, mostly drama series about a hitman. You should watch it, but I don't remember the final season again. Almost done. House of Cards, first 2 seasons, amazing. Season 3, okay. The last few seasons, could have been great. But this guy's crazy in real life. And in the show, obviously. Stranger Things. I don't think it's one of the best final seasons ever made, but I think it was underrated. I just wanted to mention that. I thought the finale was definitely dragged the fuck on. And I liked the final boss battle. But the whole season, I actually didn't have many problems with it. I just wanted to say, like, y'all need to chill out. It was okay. All right. And finally, Avatar: The Last Airbender. A lot of people say this is one of the best shows ever. I watched most of it. I still have to watch the final season. I know. I don't know how I did that, but I need to finish it. But I will. I forgot to say where you can watch all of those. Sopranos, HBO Max, Seinfeld on Netflix, Lost on Hulu, Angel on Hulu, Buffy on Hulu, Mad Men on HBO Max, House on Hulu, Mr. In-Between on Hulu, House of Cards on Netflix, Stranger Things on Netflix, and Avatar on Netflix. So after all of those, you tell me, what were some of your favorite shows that I didn't mention that had the best final seasons? Do you disagree with anyone on this list? Be sure to comment, and I'll be sure to let you know through comments, because I don't have anyone participating right now, on what I think your rebuttal is. Do you agree with anything on my list? Are you pissed off I didn't add anything else? Do you not watch TV, but you just want to see my handsome smile? Well, there you go. Till next week, which we will be talking about Lee Cronin's The Mummy. And I don't know what the special event topic will be. Best mummy movies, and then mummy spelled Mommy and Mummy. We know that Brendan Fraser's Mummy and Mummy Returns are going to be on there. But what other mummies? Will Mother's Day be one? Probably not. But we'll see. Anyways, I'll see you guys on the